I know here that came from Beijing to support me. I'm flattered. Thank you very much. I won't blush. I'll try not to. This is not a technical talk, by the way, so I won't write C code in a text editor in front of you. So, how many of you have heard about SFD, by the way? One, two, yeah, three, okay. Okay, so SFD stands for Software Freedom Day. It's a yearly celebration. So we it's like a party time. It's one day every year, the same day. So it's the third Saturday of September. It started in 2004, and the idea is to talk to people who don't know about free software. What is free software, and why they should use free software, why they should care. We are not targeting people who actually already know free software and already use free software to come and make a party among themselves. It's really an outreach program. What what we try to show, and what the message really is for people to like the idea and then start little by little. It's not forcing people to use Linux, be not happy with it, and then go back Linux or something else, and it could be FreeBSD, and then go back to their proprietary software the next week. So our target audience, basically, I think it's everywhere. Education, government, home businesses. I think free software has come a long way since it starts 25 years ago. I think free people can find solutions at home, everywhere. Maybe not complete solution, but at least partial solution, and then raise issues about what's missing, and the community can provide that over time. So this year, by the way, is going to be on September 18th. So free software was actually started by the founders of the OpenCD project. I don't know if you heard about the OpenCD project. Now it's called the Open Disk. It's a series of free software application that runs on Windows. So the idea is to get Windows user to use some application that they're familiar with, like web browsing or sending email or maybe graphic design, and to use equivalent free software application. And so while they're getting familiar with the idea and they love it, then little by little they migrate to these applications. And then when they move eventually to a free software operating system, then they'll know how to do things already. So these people, actually, I think Matt Orkist, with our treasurer now, saw some AOL CD in the US, and so that was really rubbish, and we should better distribute OpenCD CDs. There's a lot more value to it, and that's how free software started. What SFD does basically is, well, SFI, which is the name of the organization, is to collect money from sponsors, and we send goodies, well, CDs, T-shirts, balloons, stickers to teams all over the world to help them to organize their events. We also run a wiki for all these teams to put information. There are mailing lists. We help them. We write documentation. We share templates. We share content like project plans or how to request money from sponsors, these kind of things. And it's local teams that organize the SFD events. What you have to know is actually all the board members are also team leaders. I organize SFD events everywhere, and all my colleagues, I'm on the board, by the way, all my colleagues also organize teams as well. So I already mentioned Matt. Well, you can read quickly. I don't need really to go over that. But this is what we have in mind why free software is not going so fast. Just as an extra information, from 70 teams in 2004, we are targeting for 1,000 teams this year. So in 7 years, basically, it's quite a big improvement that we're rather proud of. So the the purpose which I started with is really to talk about free software and to get people hooked. And the reason for that is really, it goes back to what the Free Software Foundation say, though we have different ideas on a few points they make. I would say we're probably somewhere, we're not as hardcore as the Free Software Foundation, though we do agree with the for freedom, but we really think that the dialogue with people should be a lot softer, not tell them not to care about proprietary software. We think software freedom matters. I actually was with Richard Stallman last week. We talked a lot about this, about things also the Free Software Foundation says that, well, it's not clear from their communication. And one of the things that is important, I think, is they fear that today's Linux users don't care about freedom anymore. And it's not just because they use Linux instead of GNU Linux. It's more because they use Linux the same way they would be using Windows without caring about the application that they're running. A lot of Linux users today run Skype, run proprietary drivers, and they don't mind. Which means that Linux could become, in 5 years down the road, if it becomes, if the popularity continues, could become the next Windows platform with a lot of applications running, closed source application, somehow killing free software. If you think about voice over IP on free software, I think the clients today are not very good, and one of the reasons could be that Skype is available on Linux, and so people don't bother complaining about not having a free software alternative. They just use Skype. If you imagine Microsoft tomorrow releasing Microsoft Office for free under Linux, who is going to use open source OpenOffice.org anymore? Well, the free software, the people who care about free software will, but the majority of Linux users today probably will not. And that's why the Free Software Foundation think that all this terminology, that software freedom, that GNU Linux, are very important, because they feel that Linux users are actually just Windows users who don't care about freedom. So I have a mixed feeling. I think works. I'm not so hooked up on words. At the same time, for newcomers, maybe it's important to talk about freedom as well, not just Linux. So the other reason why free software matters, and I think you all use free software here. I've seen one or two Windows users here, but they're not in the room. It's really about building your own stack of applications, something that does not belong to a company, something that will be here tomorrow. And it's also about developing local businesses, having supports done by people that people who can fix actually bugs, people who have access to the source code, and that doesn't make sense. It's not possible in proprietary applications. It's also about your data, about file formats. There are really many reasons why you want to use free software. And I think one way to explain it to people, something I compare to free software too is when you have children and the knowledge that you have that you want to share with your children, because you want them to take your knowledge and apply it to their lives and make it better. And I think free software is very similar, where you have a piece of code that is free that you give to the community and you want them to use it and make it better. And while it is something very natural, that when you talk to people, say, oh yeah, sure, I want to do that with my children, they they don't realize that actually software is similar. Because today everybody is using computer and they should have the freedom to use a computer the way they want, not the way Apple decides or Microsoft decides or any closed source company decides. And the third slide on why it's important, it's really because you care about your community, the place you live, the planet you live, and you want to give people all the tools to solve the problem we have today. I think education is the best way to address a lot of issues. Usually smarter people tend to talk rather than fight in general. and we see a lot of issues today with global warming, with politics, with different ideology, and one of the ways is to educate people. I think free software gives tools for people to understand how things works, to give them challenges while they grow up to understand what is problem solving.